Hey, people. This is what those gladiolas look like 2 days after Mother's Day. They'll keep on going for 10 days and bloom a new flower every day. And they'll grow anywhere. This is on top of a blacktop on top of an old gravel road. Been there forever where they're growing. And they're in the full sun. And where I found it growing in the woods, it was well shaded under a live oak. This is on top of the hill dry, but where I found it, somebody had an old water feature. It was very wet down by the river. And this is some sunflowers just come up a week ago. And like I was telling you, this is early in the morning. The sun's over here in the east, and they knew where it was going to come up, and they lean way over searching for the sun, way before the flower comes up. You can see the whole plant leaning over. And at noon it'll be straight up, and in the evening it'll bend the other way. They're letting you know they're loving the sun. What it means is, all our nutrients are good, we're healthy, and we could use as much sun as we could get. If it doesn't have good nutrients, it might not lean so far as the sun because it doesn't need any more sun. It can only handle as much sun as it has nutrients to handle it. So let me get you some nutrients here. That the dirtier the mind, the more it grows. You have to have an open mind. In all the old Bible, it was vulgar. It wasn't for the children. It wasn't for the women. It was for a bunch of vulgar old men. And that King James Version is just a children's story. So all the less evolved people didn't feel left out, and they were easier to control. But here's when it took me a little minute to get here. Not did you tell. It's not that I didn't tell you. It's, the L before the A reads as an N. And then this tax says read this backwards, And this is where they're getting this not from. It plainly says N-A-T or N-O-T. And not. And then D-G-E is a did you. And then the other way, get it. Not did you get it? I told you, you just didn't get it. And not did you get it. So I put these in a folder where I've been reading this Genesis 12 about Abraham and Sarah, which is just the words made up for the King James Children's Version. But anytime the A comes after the L, I'm going to read it as an N. An L on the beginning of a word, they always say it's to, L-M-E, to me. This to me over here, it goes over here, to me. And lie to me not, did you get it? Anytime the A follows the I, it becomes a U or a vav. It could be a W, a V, or a U, same as the vav here. And anytime the vav comes before the A, it becomes the T or the D, and the A becomes the E. And it gets tricky sometimes. I miss things sometimes. You see here, it's a vav aleph, so it becomes the T-E or the D-E, which is a edda, that's the feminine. And then again here, back to back in the vav A. And so what it's doing is putting this edda here, E-T, E-T-E, et, the feminine. And this is a yet edda. And so edda, that's your wife, the feminine counterpart. Always has your name with an edda on the back of it. Kind of like a MRS on the front of a name. It's like a Henrietta. A Henry is the house ruler, and a Henrietta is when she runs the house. And so where the Pharaoh's saying, but why did you say my sister she is? But what he's saying is to me emmer attached, and yet, the Y-E-T, yet and edda, and yet edda fuck. And so it means, I have not yet. I plan to in the future, but I have not. And to me emmer attached, yet edda fuck. Atel, A-T-E-L, Atel, And then the L before the A, reads as an N. Telling. A telling as a votive. The N followed by the E reads as a bet, a V, a votive. As take, fuck, will give. And a votive is offered or consecrated in fulfillment of a vow. Your vow when you get married, it's not consecrated until you do the nasty. So he's saying, oh no, I ain't been with her. But if you caught that movie yesterday, you saw that everybody else has been with her. Sarah was old whore. Abraham's daddy called her the sorry Clitis. The Clitis Evram. She was a sorry Clitis Evram. And in that last movie, ended up here, and I caught something after I posted it that I didn't show you. Another one I've been looking at. I'm not real sure about it, but OBD, is the base word for serve, slave, and I'm pretty sure that a B between a O and a D reads as a R, and it's ord, and that's where the word Lord come from. The L is to in serve, Lord. And I caught that when I was looking in my old Tor in this old phonetic style. And the B kind of looked like the R, it's reading backwards. And the Lord. And Wedum ain, not the Lord at had me. And here they interpret that as to cultivate, L, to, and abed, to serve. To work, to serve. That's what they'll always give that. Serve, slave, something like that. The arts, wedum, ain, not. When your teacher says ain't a word, she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's old English for not. And ain't, Lord, at them, this, this had me. And no Lord had me. I was a free man. And so this last line yesterday, it should have read, when and ever me itch of, double B, any double consonant, the second one becomes a yod, I-J or Y, the job where, who, yea, will what's on, who happily will what's on, a ruffin, a reckon of four, and which morum, W-C-H, you see here, which, and which morum, a wordum, a sepit. And you see this usually the base word for the judge, the judgment, to accept what you're told. And which morum, wordum, a sepit. And then the VA reading as the D-E-T-N-T, detent. And which morum, wordum, a sepit, detent, and camelum. Detent, that's where your word detention comes from. Detained. Detent would be a stockade where they lock up your feet and hands. A detent. A catch in a machine which prevents motion until released. A catch that regulates striking. From Latin, a tender, to stretch. A pawl, where your word police come from. It keeps a pawl, keeps a spool from running out. And which morum, wordum, a sepit, detent, and camelum. And I believe camelum means hump. A camel and humpum. A hump likely originated from Germanic root bent, curve, to bend, to turn, related to words like lump, bump, and rump, but also to carry, heft, shoulder, tote, to go on foot, have sex, bang. But, to go on foot, that was the worldwide G, the camel, the foot, to lift, to carry. to hump this over there, to carry this over there, the camel to hump. So let me read these last 4 lines, and I'll have this whole chapter in this folder. So in the last chapter, at the end, Abram's father said Sarah, or sorry, was a sorry clit. That's your word for your daughter-in-law, a clit. And she was a sorry clit. She was Sarah, the daughter-in-law, a sorry clit. And sorry clit had the clap, and that was the whole purpose of bringing her to meet the Pharaoh. They were trying to spread the disease in Egypt. When you wonder what happened to all the ancient Egyptians, sorry clit got to them. And, that's where they're getting this plagued from. She was plagued. And why a nag who had, it was a nag. A NG and the OI reads as a E. A nag who had. And if you're reading it with this mark here, it's Y, meaning how or who, and who, a nag, who, and then the double E is a high, and then the way, the highway, and then the vav here, is followed by the A then, and it's ag in it. And why nag, who, highway, ag in it. And so a nag, old English word.
Nag.
The nag, spelled N-A-G-E, the way it's spelled there, the O-I reads as the E. A nag is a horse, a small riding horse, a pony, an old useless horse, or obsolete derogatory. This is usually where you find the meaning of paramour, old French word for love's sake. And it means an illicit lover, somebody that you screwing that you don't want your wife to know about, male or female. And obsolete, the Virgin Mary or Jesus Christ when addressed by the person of the opposite sex. So a man might call the Virgin Mary a nag, and a woman would call Jesus the nag. Why nag who the highway agony, and work in the street, and it whore prove a nagum. NG and the OI is a E, EM, them, a nag them, and ride them, gold them. And it doesn't show up anymore, but I remember looking this up several years ago, and the GDL is a screw, to screw. I don't see where it says screw anymore. It just says to weave together. And the ride 'em, godel 'em, and then the debt, the DET, the debt, what he invite to all. The debt, what he invite to all. She owes me money, and I'm inviting all my friends over. What he invite to all. Everybody come over and screw her $5 a head. I'm getting my money back. And the vite to all rubbed over, sore, and the IA is a vav. A sore was it Evram. And everybody who hit that has done caught the clap. The sore was Evram. And a fur, and, or why for approving over 'em. Call all your buddies to get the approval. And why for approving over 'em, becomes a N-O, approve, the odal, O-E is O-V, approving over 'em, a vommer. Vommer, that's Latin for a plow or a dick. And you see it when you look in the Latin. This word is and, vav, and dixit. The vommer meaning a plowshare. The bone in your nose, bony part of the septum. But also an informal word for penis. My penis is my plow. A vommer met as at. As it lie to me, Not did you get it. Not did you get it. I didn't catch it because I ain't consecrated yet. Not did you get it. The liquor. The I-A-Z-U. The liquor stick etta. The liquor stick etta. That's a pet name for a whore. The liquor stick etta. To me am attached. Yet at a fuck a tell. A tellin' is as the votive. I have not yet consecrated. I ain't been with her. She might be my wife, but I ain't screwed her. A votive as take a fuck will give. And that's where they get this your from this K, as a fuck will your. And wits are which a volley, pass back and forth. And which a volley approve on sea. And from whistled, the Vav followed by the A again, comes a D or a T. It's not sent away, but sent for. You whistled at somebody to call them. And from whistled it to, E-T-U. And, one's getting whistled at. And whistled it to, and a debt. And this is a determinative. And if you understand the Egyptian and all the Egyptian signs, it even has more hidden meaning in it. But, it's debt. It means what? But a determinative gives a different meaning to the same set of letters. And so this is the determinative here. So in the Egyptian, many things are spelt the same way, and depending on which determinative is used, and it's the wife determinative, the as to determinative, or the what's as to. From whistled it to debt, what's astute. What's astute it to call? Astute. Having the ability to accurately assess the situation. And from whistled it to debt, what's determined, what's astute it to call. And then you see, 3 words read backwards and forwards in a row here. And what's to the callers, the callers, the ones coming to see, the callers, and as rule, R-U-L, and then the Vav, means connected, or when something's connected, it's to, as the rule to. Which volley approve on sea, from whistled it to debt, what's astute it to callers as rule to. So, according to all the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, all these writings on the wall, all about the birds and the bees, they give all their highest regards to birds and bees. All the gods are birds. And the word for gold is bees backwards. The bees. And I'm going to cut this off here, and everything is in this folder right up here, called the original use of the pyramids. And I believe this picture changes with the last video I put in it. And I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.